Imagine retiring abroad, where your money goes further and your life is filled with sun-drenched afternoons. It's a dream many of us share.
But what happens when that dream comes true for thousands of people in the same small town?
For the locals living there, the story can be very different.
Today, let's take a look at both sides of the coin, the expat havens and the economic heartaches,
And how those of us dreaming of a life abroad can be a force for good.
The promise. Every forum thread starts the same, doesn't it? The tantalizing dream of swapping a cramped shoebox apartment or of some very expensive place in California, or insert your reality here, for a pinch-yourself kind of view in a sun-drenched foreign land. Imagine living comfortably, even luxuriously, on just your Social Security check. And with just a little more, being able to afford a weekly maid, a garden, and maybe leisurely lunches. The numbers, frankly, look bulletproof. Retirees arrive with pensions often 10 times the local median wage, ready to spend. They renovate crumbling facades, transforming neglected properties into architectural gems. They tip generously, spreading extra wealth. They even open charming craft coffee shops and hire local baristas, adding a touch of flair. City halls, of course, absolutely love the fresh tax base. Airlines eagerly add direct routes to cater to the influx, and language schools overflow with eager students. The entire dream is packaged so beautifully, so perfectly, that when reality starts to show its rougher edges, it almost feels ungrateful to point it out.
Let's talk numbers, because they paint a powerful picture. In 2025, the international tourism-linked spending worldwide is projected to reach an impressive $2.1 trillion, a significant portion of the total economic impact of the industry, which is expected to be over $11 trillion, making up $1 in every $10 generated globally. This isn't just about fleeting vacations. It's about a global industry that supports approximately 330 million jobs, about 1 in 10 worldwide. Foreign retirees, you see, are the slow-motion, highly concentrated version of this economic force. For countries like Spain, tourism's direct contribution to GDP is significant, estimated to hit nearly 16%. In 2025, the estimates are as high as 21% for Portugal, 11% in Italy, and 9% in France. Keeping in mind tourism is both domestic and international sources. Looking back at North America, for Mexico, it's a vital part of the economy. Long-stay retirements aren't just there for a week, they stay for years. This means every grocery run, every doctor visit, and every roof repair lands squarely in the local ledger, boosting various sectors year-round. In Malaysia, the Malaysia My Second Home program recently generated RM 840 million in inflows, largely from new residents. On paper, it's a textbook stimulus, a financial shot in the arm for these communities.
The first crack. But every powerful economic force has ripple effects, and to understand the full picture, we have to look closer at the challenges that can arise. While soaring housing costs are a global crisis driven by a perfect storm of supply shortages and investment speculation, the effects are felt most accurately in places that have become hotspots for foreign retirees. In Portugal, which saw a huge influx of foreign retirees, Lisbon rents have skyrocketed in recent years. In Mexico's picturesque Lake Chapala, a modest two-bedroom casita that once leased for a reasonable $250 now lists for a jaw-dropping $900 or more. The mechanism driving this isn't rocket science. It's brutally simple. Retirees sell a California bungalow for $1 million, convert that tidy sum into euros or pesos, and then, flush with cash, they can easily outbid locals by 30% or more, often paying in full, right up front. Suddenly, construction firms pivot, no longer building for local families, but for granite-colored condos aimed squarely at this new affluent clientele. The humble brickmaker, who once supplied affordable housing projects, now charges premium rates. Prices race ahead of local wages. It's a race that local salaries can't win.
Teachers and nurses can't live inside their own cities anymore. A stark piece of Lisbon graffiti complains. echoing a sediment heard in countless popular destinations. Take the example of a 34-year-old social worker who was evicted, or the lease wasn't extended when it came to term, when her landlord realized he could triple the rent by listing her apartment on Airbnb, targeting well-heeled vacationers. She now faces a grueling 2-hour commute each way, and even without, she's still paying 40% out of her hard-earned salary just for rent. Meanwhile, consider a retiree from Colorado, grateful for the affordability. He might mention that his dollars make him feel like a Warren Buffett on vacation. He loves the local bakery, unaware that its prices recently increased because the owner's rent was raised, part of the chain reaction he is unknowingly a part of. Two entirely different realities, often existing on the very same block, separated by a chasm of economic privilege. Both are just trying to live a good life, and neither wants to hurt the other.
Nonetheless, there's data behind the pain. Here is the uncomfortable truth we must confront. Housing inflation isn't some unfortunate side effect. It's a direct product of these economic shifts. When demand is inelastic, meaning everyone, absolutely everyone, needs a roof over their head, and supply is painfully slow to adapt, prices will inevitably jump to whatever the richest buyer in the market can afford to pay. Some studies have found a correlation between an increase in foreign residents and a rise in municipal home prices. Sure, construction booms, you might say, but critically, many of those shiny new units are priced for export wallets, not for local payrolls. The wealth gap has demonstrably widened faster in these top retiree towns than in the rest of each respective country. This isn't just an anecdotal problem, it's a measurable, systemic shift.
Okay, so waiters, Uber drivers, and dentists indeed gain new clients, right? And that's a good thing, isn't it? Well, yes and no. The jobs created are primarily service side and often seasonal. But here's the kicker. The cost of living surges year-round. Consider Puerto Vallarta, a retirement hotspot. A university graduate there might earn a meager $450 a month, while the average rent for even a basic apartment hovers around $650. In many of these booming expat towns in Spain, Portugal, or Costa Rica, a couple can live comfortably for $2,000 to $3,000 a month, a sum that is often double or triple the local median salary. How do the locals bridge that impossible gap? They're forced to pack 3 generations under one roof, creating overcrowding living conditions, or they flee to cramped, underserved outskirts. The retiree economy certainly creates work, but it rarely creates the wages that let you actually live within that economy, let alone thrive.
Expat bubbles. Then there's a tendency to form expat bubbles. Think gated compounds within English street names and grocery stores stocked with imported cheddar cheese. Not that we don't dearly miss our Wisconsin cheddar. In some coastal communities in Spain, communities have formed that are almost exclusively populated by foreigners, cut off from the traditional local society. Retailers in these enclaves often price items in dollars versus euros. The local language becomes entirely optional. Integration? Optional. Because their income originates abroad, many retirees don't end up paying much income tax when they file local tax returns, and in some countries around the world, may even remain on tourist visas or live as a slow traveler, only staying the amount of time allowed on the tourist visa, renewing them with so-called border runs to a neighboring country for a stamp or period of time they must leave before coming back. This, again, isn't about malice, but about the risk of funding an economy without fully entering it. It can become like a helicopter of cash that hovers overhead, occasionally dropping money, but it rarely lands long enough to let locals on board and therefore thrive and build a higher quality of life for themselves.
Local governments, often blinded by the promise of easy money, relaxing zoning rules, allowing 20-story towers to sprout up once where there were quaint 3-story towns. But here's the rub. Infrastructure isn't as flexible. Those water pipes laid back in 1970, they're now serving triple the population. Old electrical grid groans under the weight of the new air conditioners. This increased demand for local infrastructure, water, power, waste management, can severely strain public services. In parts of the Yucatan, for instance, retirees' lush golf courses and private pools compete directly with subsistence farmers for increasingly precious aquifers. When the drought hits, the disparity becomes clear. The newest developments often have the water, while locals may be queuing for tanker trucks just to get their basic supply. The World Bank warns that without significant reinvestment of tourism taxes directly back into infrastructure and community services, destinations will consume the very beauty they market, essentially destroying the golden goose.
The macro view. Tourism dependency is a known trap. A country like Spain, where in some reports tourism is projected to make up nearly 16% of the GDP, thus making them more vulnerable than a country where the production is less than 5%. One global pandemic or a significant recession in the source country, and the music simply stops. Greece, Spain, Thailand learned that lesson painfully. Retirees are certainly stickier than spring breakers. Yet if local healthcare systems collapse or visa rules tighten, they can decamp just as fast as they arrive. This is a bad example of over-reliance without reinforcement. On the other hand, a country like Malaysia actively uses its My Second Home program to attract not just retirees, but also high-value professionals in tech and finance, diversifying its economic base beyond simple consumption. Without such a strategy, however, towns are left with a ghost landscape, overbuilt condos, and an entire generation of locals priced out and unable to return home. It's a boom and bust cycle that leaves scars.
Some governments are trying to find a balance, providing good examples of management. Portugal's once popular Golden Visa program, which was blamed for soaring housing prices, was reformed in 2023 to completely exclude real estate investments. The focus has now shifted to investment in regulated funds that support Portuguese companies. A different approach is seen in Panama's popular Pensionado visa, which offers discounts on everything from flights to medical bills, but requires a guaranteed lifetime pension income of at least $1,000 per month, ensuring residents are self-sufficient. Malaysia's revamped MM2H program is another model, using tiered categories, gold, silver, platinum, to attract a mix of retirees and skilled professionals, channeling investment into property, fixed deposits, and job creation to boost the broader economy. None of these are silver bullets, but they signal a crucial shift. Treat retirees as valued residents, not just as saviors with deep pockets. If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. We're all about unpacking the hidden economics behind everyday headaches. No jargon, no corporate fluff, just the numbers and human stories that shape your rent, your commute, and your life.
The ethical question. This all brings us to a fundamental ethical question. Who truly deserves priority on a finite street grid? A shrinking water table, or a precious stretch of coastline? If a social security check from the global north can effortlessly outbid a local teacher's entire annual salary, do we simply shrug and dismiss it as the free market at work, or do we, as people hoping to join these communities, have a responsibility to protect the very social fabric that made that destination attractive to us in the first place? Let's be clear, this isn't about pointing fingers at retirees. Most are, again, simply seeking a life of dignity and affordability that feels out of reach back at home. The real failure lies upstream in outdated zoning laws and tax regimes that reward flipping homes for profit, and in metrics that count tourism dollars but ignore resident displacement.
But there's hope, bubbling up from the ground. In Lisbon's vibrant Gracia neighborhood, resourceful activists are converting vacant bank-owned buildings into affordable co-ops, creating homes for those who have been priced out of the market. In Merida, Mexico, community land trusts are actively buying up plots of land before developers can swoop in, locking in below-market housing prices forever. Cities from the coast of Costa Rica to the islands of Greece are piloting innovative tourist taxes, specifically earmarked, 100% of them, for affordable housing units. The playbook for change exists, but what's often missing is the political will to implement it, and critically, time, before the entire skyline is sold off piece by precious piece.
The retiree dilemma. Now, this puts the conscientious retirees in a tough spot. The internal monologue becomes, I don't want to hurt anyone, but I also honestly can't afford to retire in the States anymore. Many are now exploring new models to belong and contribute positively. Take co-housing with locals, splitting a renovated duplex into 2 separate deeds, one market rate for the retiree and one capped at an affordable price for a local teacher. It's a small step, a drop in the ocean, perhaps, yet it hints at a potential truce, a path forward for those of us who want to integrate thoughtfully rather than risk becoming the next negative headline.
Globally, international visitors spend about $2.1 trillion abroad. This financial flow isn't stopping. The number of American retirees moving abroad has grown in recent years and is projected to keep rising. The fundamental question, then, isn't if the money will flow, but how we choreograph it. Channel that money wisely into robust hospitals, efficient public transportation, and genuine local ownership stakes, and you get sustainable development. Let it run chaotic and unchecked, and you get gated gentrification, vital water taps run dry, and a nightly protest outside once charming tapas bars.
So the conclusion. Are foreign retirees economic blessings or curses? The truth is, they are both, and often in sequential order. First comes the welcome cash infusion, then the inevitable rent spike, and finally, painful social fracture.
The blessing turns hellish when we and the cities we move to treat this influx as an unchangeable destiny instead of a carefully designed opportunity.
If you're eyeing retirement abroad, vote with your wallet. Rent from locals, bank locally, learn the language, support local businesses that pay living wages.
If you're a policymaker, stop selling real estate-based visas that fuel speculation and start designing well-thought-out plans.
Tax speculation, fund public housing, and make visas contingent on genuine integration. Otherwise, the next postcard from paradise might just show a perfect sunset over a ghost town. Locals can no longer afford to call home.
What future do we stamp with our feet and our pensions? Tell me below, and please share this with someone who thinks money has no footprint.